Yo, what it do, Hustle Nation? It is 7 a.m., so y'all know what time it is. It is time for the Cortez Hustle Show, and we're talking about Black people in the stock market, man. Why do you think Black people are afraid of the stock market? My guest, Dr. Kelli DeCloux, is going to be talking about stock options trading and how she was able to retire herself from her job by not fearing the stock market. So do me a favor, man. Go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand. If you like a free business shout out, and smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go all the way in on how you can carve out a living and literally print money from the market every day if you develop this one skill. So smash that share button. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you are building something amazing, tell us a little bit about it. Just don't post any links. I'm going to go ahead and get the show rocking and rolling. So let's get to it. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally or I've learned from or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network. And when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. Good morning, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor from where am I from this morning? I am from digitalempiresystem.com. If you, my friend, are trying to get your piece of this internet pie, the billions of dollars that's created online every single day, you're going to need a digital marketing platform to do that. And the one I choose is called Builderall. If you go to digitalempiresystem.com, you can test it out for 30 days for $1. This thing does everything I need it to do. It hosts my membership sites. It has all of my sales funnels. It actually has my payment processing center. So when people buy my books, my courses, my products and services, it does it all. An unlimited email autoresponder. If you need a good system, you need to check out digitalempiresystem.com. Test it out for $1. See for yourself, man. 30 different products for digital marketers all in one place. And they all talk to each other, which is different from other platforms where you got to patch things together. So check that out. Do me a favor, comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business and or your brand, and share the show, ladies and gentlemen. So I've got a lot of Dr. Kelli fans in the building already. Claudia says, Dr. Kelli is the best. Ashley from South Carolina. Blessed morning, all. Cookie Price, created by Cookie is the name of her brand. Hello from Canada. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dr. Kelli is great and compassionate teacher. I love it. I love it. I love it. So lots of love for Dr. Kelli. Before we get to bringing out Dr. Kelli, let me give you a couple of quick announcements. If you don't know, the Cortez Hustle Show blog is officially up and running. So do me a favor, when the show is over, go over to TheCortezHustleShow.com And just for going to check out the blog and see what we got going on over there, I'm giving away 2 free gifts. You won't believe how amazing these gifts are. So write that down, TheCortezHustleShow.com. There you'll find the replay of today's show, as well as past episodes and tons of resources from our different sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great opportunity for you to learn and continue to grow. Also, let's see, I had another announcement that is escaping me right now. So nevertheless, let's just go ahead and get to the good stuff. Dr. Kelli is a PhD from USC and former educator and teacher who retired herself when she learned the power of stock option trading, and it now has her on a mission to introduce the stock market to minority, Black and brown communities first and foremost, but anybody who's willing to learn, because this is a game changer for anybody who's willing to put in the effort to learn. And as you see, some of her fans are live with us this morning, says she is a compassionate and passionate teacher. So without further ado, let me introduce to some and present to others, Miss Dr. Kelli. Good morning, Dr. Kelli. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing amazing. How you doing, brother?
I am doing well. I am doing well. Let me see if I can pull in our lower thirds so that people know that I am here with the great Dr. Kelli DeCloux this morning. There we go. There we go. So, Dr. Kelli, before we get into introductions and tell everybody who you are and all of that stuff, I like to kick the show off with what I call the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. Now, if you have a favorite quote, you can share yours, or you can just give me your thoughts on this one. But today's quote of the day here on the Cortez Hustle Show is, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work till you die. And that is the great legendary investor, Mr. Warren Buffett. So do you have a quote of the day, or do you want to share a thought on that one?
You know what? I would like to share a thought on that, but I'd also like to offer one that I share all the time. What you do today affects 7 generations into your future.
Whoa, wait a minute. We got to run that back, Dr. Kelli. We got to run that back. I got to make sure they get it.
Okay. What you do today affects 7 generations into your future.
Wow. Wow. That is powerful. So learning something like stock options trading,
man,
it changed the game, not only for you and your kids and their kids, but we're talking about 5 more generations too.
Exactly.
That is amazing. So I am so with that Warren Buffett quote, because when you think about it, there's going to come a day, Dr. Kelli, where you either don't want to work,
right?
You're not physically able to work,
right?
Or you're not wanted by an employer to work, because we see the discrimination and the prejudice that happens with our seniors when they get a certain number of years of experience, they get a certain number of years of prestige. Now it's like, we don't want to pay you what you're worth, so we're going to kind of put you out to pasture, right? So you got to find ways to get paid not working. There's all kinds of income, but my favorite kind of income is the non-wage income, Dr. Kelli.
Passive income. It's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. Well, that was the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by Stock Options Trading Academy.com, which is Dr. Kelli's school, which we'll get into a little bit later. But before we do all of that, Dr. Kelli, tell everybody who the heck is Dr. Kelli.
Oh man, thank you, brother. This is awesome. It's good to see you, and glad to be talking to you and clients and new clients that's coming up. I'm excited. So my name is Dr. Kelli DeCloux. I'm from California, born and raised California, but my people are from Mobile, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee. So I call myself a country girl that's living in California because I got my roots down there, right? So So I went to school out there. That's where I'm from. I went to UCLA and USC. So people say, "Who do you?"
How you pull that off?
when you're that good, you can go wherever you want. Oh man, so yeah, and it's funny too because there's times where I've walked around with a UCLA tank top and then a Trojans jersey on top of it. I'm like, hey, I can get down like that, you know.
Gotcha.
And Darren didn't say anything.
Right. Like, hey, listen, I put in work in both places. Period. I'm celebrated in both places, so why can't I celebrate both places, right?
Absolutely.
Love it. So background as a PhD, and that means you are well learned in a lot of different areas. Let's kind of go down that path a little bit, because did you feel it necessary to go the PhD route to get to where you want to go? Because, you know, at this point, there was a time where a college degree was a major differentiator, right? Then a lot of people got the degrees, so you had to have a master's to set yourself apart. Right. Was it a thing that you just wanted, that was something, a dream of yours to be doctor? Or was it like, man, everybody's got a master, so I got to step it up and go ahead and get the PhD?
That's a great question. And it is a situation where I wanted it. I didn't want it because of a job thing. I didn't want it because, you know, I would elevate me to another level in terms of a position. I wanted a PhD because I wanted to be in that percent of what 1% of the population or less has a PhD. That sounds like that's for me.
Gotcha. Really quickly, guys, we do also something called the question of the day every day. Dr. Kelly and I forgot to give them the question of the day earlier, but the question for today is, what is the first stock you bought and when? And if you answer the question of the day, we enter you to a drawing to win a free vacation. And we do our live drawing every Wednesday. So answer the question of the day. But the only way we know you're answering is you have to put QOTD, then give your answer. That's how my team knows you're responding to the question of the day. So the question of the day is, what is the first stock you bought and when? And even if you haven't bought any yet, just say, hey, none yet, you know, because sometimes we still got to get educated and get comfortable with that whole process. But put QOTD and then give your answer. So you have a history as a educator, teacher in the school system, taught everything from kindergarten to college. Yes. What was that process like, being a Black woman in our educational system, you know, responsible for, you know, the next generation, right? I think there was a Abraham Lincoln quote that says, you know, today's children will shape politics in the next generation. So we got to be careful what we teach them. So how was that whole experience for you?
I enjoyed it. And it's funny because I fell into the teaching profession because I was going through the parent, oh, you need to be a doctor, not PhD doctor, but medical doctor. So when I finished at UCLA, I was taking time off to study for the MCAT, the medical college admissions test, right? And in the meantime, you know, the student loan people, they want their money now, right? So, okay, I need to do something while I'm studying for this test. So I was like, oh, UCLA told us that if we had a science degree, and my degree is in psychobiology, that you can teach on an emergency credential in the Los Angeles Unified School District. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let me go ahead and do that, right? And so what happened was I got there, started teaching in South Central, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it, right? And I remember having a call, Mom, I'm not going to be a medical doctor. I want to be a brain surgeon. I'm not going to be a brain surgeon. Is that cool? And you know, like, baby, do whatever make you happy. Oh, let's go, right? Because I realized that I would do it for free. That's how much I love teaching in South Central. I would do it for free. And so that's when I knew, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I started there, taught there for a while, and then I taught at the university, college level, and then I started teaching in. Actually, I wasn't teaching at that time. I went and became a probation officer for kids who were locked up.
Okay.
And seeing what they did not have, and seeing I want to be careful because I don't want to, but the quality or lack thereof of instruction that the kids were receiving in lockup, that made me want to go back into teaching, because I was like, I want to be able to help kids before they get locked up. I want to be able to, you know, so I went back into teaching, and I started teaching kids who were on probation. right?
Okay.
So that I can hopefully impact them enough so they wouldn't go along the path where they get to lock up. Okay.
Yeah, that's powerful, and that's important. Talk really quick before we get into the stock options trade. I know that's why people are really here, but I think this is important for just general to understand. People sometimes underestimate the impact that a teacher can have on our children and coaches and the people that you put your kids in front of, especially in a school system where they're spending 8, sometimes 9, 10 hours a day with these people. Right. So talk about you had the passion to shape, and thank God for you. Some people see our school system, especially in our urban communities, as a somewhat of a welfare check. Hey, I just got my degree. I got to teach somewhere for 2 years before I get into the school system that I really want to be in. Let me just go down here and sit in this urban community for these 2 years. Hopefully I don't get hurt or stabbed or cut, and then I'm gonna get out of here and go to the next deal. But so I guess it's a 2-part question: the impact that teachers can have on children, but also in a positive light, but also the negative impact of those teachers who really don't give a doggone, because that comes in a lot of different areas. It's the young teachers trying to get tenure so they can move into a better district. It's the older teachers like, hey, I'm 5 years from retirement, so I just need to hold on a little bit. Talk about those 2 different dynamics, because I know being in it, you see it. Or you saw it before you retired.
Yes. And if I may, let me share a story with you really quickly. So when I went back into teaching, I went to Riverside County and Office of Education. And I found a probation school. And so I went and I applied. And check this out. The guy who was interviewing me was a principal at one of the schools for Riverside County Office of Education. He looked at my resume and said, wow, you have, 2 masters and a PhD. And listen to what he said to me. He said, why do you want to teach these kids?
Wow.
And I had to bite my tongue because I wanted to just read him. But I like, if I read him, I ain't gonna get the job to help the babies. Right. So I had to take that one. But man, I wanted to go all the way off on him, because he was like, you're too good of a teacher to teach these Black and brown kids. So exactly what you're saying is an issue. And so that's why I had the passion to go in, because I said they need somebody with who
right. They need a Dr. Kelly. That's exactly who they need.
You know what I'm saying? Who wants to be here and has the credentials to do it, as well as the drive, So what you asked is a amazing question. I work beside people who would say some awful things to these babies. And I would just be looking at them like, are you trying to perpetuate this? Are you trying to, aren't you trying to, and I realized they weren't, which is what you brought up, people who are just trying to, hold position, they got a second job because they retired from whatever. And then they're like, oh, I'm gonna get a second pension if I work for the county for a couple years. I get and I saw it. And it was just, it honestly just burned me. It really did. Yeah. But it made me go harder in the paint for the babies.
Gotcha. I love that. So with that much passion and fire for the babies and what you were doing, let's talk about you being bitten by this bug, right? Were you, before you really got going with stock options, were you kind of in that same category? Hey, the stock market is the stock market. That ain't something for us. I ain't checking for that. I'm busy with this thing over here, right? Let's talk about how you got introduced to the stock options. And matter of fact, wait a minute. Let's hold that question, because it is 7:19. It's too close to 7:20, in which time we do 1 minute motivation. So on the other side of 1 minute motivation, we'll talk about how you got the bug and which led to your retirement and all that kind of stuff. So right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, we do something called 1 minute motivation. I am huge on personal growth and self-development. And one thing that I try to get people to understand, Dr. Kelly, is everything that you consume is personal growth and self-development. It's not just when I pick up something like Brendan Burchard's High Performance Habits and I do something positive. No, when I consume Housewives of Atlanta, that's personal growth and self-development too. it just might be growing me in the wrong direction, right? So,
Facts.
so be careful with what you consume, but we do like to, people start their day with the Cortez Hustle Show. So I try to give them something to start their day with. So I play 1 minute or 90 seconds of a motivational clip. You give me one takeaway, I'll give a couple takeaways, and the audience will also comment their takeaway, what they hear from it. So right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, let's go with 1 minute motivation, the Dr. Kelli version.
You are strong because you used to be weak. You found a way to get back up again and again in situations that seemed bleak. You kept moving forward when others started to retreat. Your will to win is impeccable, and that's what makes you so hard to defeat. Your mindset is set to unbreakable. In the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, you remain unshakable. They thought they could break you, but they were sadly mistaken. You took your misery and turned it into history and accomplished feats that were not only earth-shaking, they were also record-breaking. Bruce Lee said, don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. I guess you said your prayers because you stand tall in situations where most would run. The world gets so caught up in measurables like height, weight, speed, IQ tests. But the most important measurable of all is the one they can never test. And that's the heart of a champion and the will to win. The passion and desire to fight, and fight to the very end. Just when they expect you to break like a levee, that's when you're at your best. Locked, loaded, and ready. And you tell life, bring it on. Please test me, because they underestimated you and labeled you a loser. But at this very moment, you decided to be a chooser.
Ooh-wee. You decided to be a chooser. Are you being a chooser out there? So give me one takeaway that you heard, Dr. Kelli.
You know what? I like the part about being unbreakable and being self-undefeatable, meaning you are competing just against yourself. Mm-hmm. And so whatever comes at you, you want to be, this is what I see, this is what I heard, right? You want to be the next best version of yourself, right? So whatever's coming at you, you want to defeat that. And then the next thing that comes at you, you want to defeat that. So you're always fighting you to be the next best version of you. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, man, I love it. And that's why I like doing this, because we all just heard the same clip, but none of us heard the same clip, right? His perspective is everything. He said, you are strong because you were weak. See, it's in our understanding of being weak. That's what drives me to get educated. That's what drives me to change, because I'm like, hey, I cannot remain this way. So appreciate the weak. I love the Bruce Lee quote, man, or I like the Jim Rohn version of it. Don't wish life was easy. Pray that you were better. So I mean, that is huge. It is huge, right? And then be a chooser, man. I think sometimes, Dr. Kelli, we forget that we could choose how we feel. Right? We forget that we could choose how we react to different things. Now, one thing that I know for certain, Dr. Kelli, is that life is at some point going to knock me on my butt. But the other thing that I know for certain is I will always have a choice as to whether or not I'm going to get up. And there is power in choice. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. The Dr. Kelli version brought to you by StockOptionsTradingAcademy.com. Go check out Dr. Kelli's Academy if you want to get into the stock option trading game. She is the best of the best because her students are right here attesting that she is an amazing and passionate teacher when it comes to the stock options trading. So before we got into 1 minute motivation, Dr. Kelli, we were going down the path to find out exactly when you got bit by this stock market bug. Just like I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug at a young age, and I knew that entrepreneurship is going to be part of my life. At some point, you got turned on to the market, and in particular, stock options trading. What was that moment for you?
So it was actually, if I can go back in time, I was at UCLA, I think I was. So a long time ago. And I went to the LA Convention Center because they had this event, right? And I had read this book by this guy, and he talked about stock options, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. So he was going to be presenting, so I went there, and so I get there and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Okay, all right, I can do this. I read the book, listened to what they were saying, and they were like, okay, if you want to take the class, that's $20,000. I was like, nope, I don't have that. I'm a student. Right. So I read the book several times, and I read just enough to lose money. Because the reality is you have to find someone to teach you. You do.
Yeah.
You know, it's very well, of course, back then there wasn't no YouTube, right? They're okay to kind of, you know, teach you, at least understand what it is, right? And whatever, you know, but now I think it's important to have someone teach you. So I learned what it was back then, but I didn't know how. I didn't know strategies. I didn't know, you know, what to do, right? I went in there and said, oh, well, let me just buy this right here because it's cheap and I can afford it, right? But not understanding the mechanics behind what I was buying and how to make money off of something like that just because it was cheap. Okay. The clients who are listening, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Put the money where you're supposed to be.
Right.
Everybody else. So anyway, so I found out about it then years ago, and then I was recircled back to it about 3 or 4 years ago, and I found someone that looked like me that could teach it to me, right? And so I went through a video course, right, to understand it. And then as soon as I got that, I was like, oh, sweet, right? And I learned a strategy of how to do it. And that was the beginning, you know. And then my coach, you know, who I paid, you know, he said, I know you're a teacher. I know you're an educator. How about, I know you're good enough now, and I know you want to teach. Go on out there. So I went out there with his blessing and I started my own business. And I love that. You know, it was really, really awesome. And so after that, it was game on. Let me teach as many people as I can, because this is, I mean, you talk about generational wealth building. If you hang in there with this game, man, it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing.
I love it. And at this point, were you still teaching at this point?
So let me bridge that gap. So, I stopped teaching and actually went into doing my own educational company, right? So I stopped teaching in the school districts and went and did that, right? And I was teaching kids how to graduate from high school early. So like my son was the guinea pig. So I had him graduate after I figured out how to do it in the system. Again, I'm always about strategies because I was a math science teacher. So I knew everything was always a process and a strategy. So I was always about building strategies. So I was like, let me try this strategy on my son. So he graduated from high school at 12.
Wow.
Right? And so then I was like, ooh, it works. Let me go ahead and start helping other kids do the same thing. Okay. So I did that. And then after I did that, I felt my son helped me and I fell into this Amazon, selling stuff on Amazon. So I was an Amazon e-commerce seller, right? Yeah. So I started like with $700, $800 and turned it into 6 figures in 14 months, right? Right. Nice. And so I started teaching people how to do that. And then is when I ran into my coach who taught me about stock options. And then it was like, oh, game over. Game over.
I love it. And let me plug something real quick, because one of my passions is to help people take their passions and turn them into income, right? So I've got to plug this, guys, and it may sound shameless, but I have a digital product boot camp coming up next week where I will show you 9 different ways to turn your intellectual capital into intellectual property that you can market and sell online and build a brand around exactly what Dr. Kelli did. I have a process or a framework to get kids to graduate school early. Okay. You worked it on your son. He graduated school at 12. Yeah. That became an intellectual property that you started teaching and selling, right? Right. And then you did the same thing when you learned stock options. Hey, I learned it. I became a practitioner. Yes. I learned it so well and became so successful. Now let me turn my intellectual capital into intellectual property. And now you have an online academy where you teach others how. So if you guys are interested in turning your knowledge into income, then comment keyword bootcamp and I'll get you the link to that. But nevertheless, Dr. Kelli, now you kind of, and that's a whole nother thing that we'll talk about another time on the e-commerce show, $700, $800 to 6 figures in 14 months. that's a whole nother topic, right? But you got the game and you learned it. Talk about the feeling when you got your first big win, but also the feeling on that first big loss too.
Okay, that's fair. So I've been doing it for about 3.5 years, maybe 4 years now, like going hard on it, somewhere around there. I'm not sure exactly. And so, of course, the first year, 6 months, you're figuring it out, right? Trying to understand, what do I do? How do I do this? And then the next level is the psychology behind what you're doing, right? Because as much as I teach my clients, what I teach them in my Wolf of Wall Street course, which is 12 weeks, I always tell them all the stuff I'm teaching you, that's really 20% of the game, because the psychology behind it is the big part, right? So anyway, the first year or so, you're kind of just figuring out what to do, how to do it. You kind of get comfortable and everything, and I try my best, because I am an educational psychologist. I do try my best to work on the psychology of my clients. So I want them, and they have been, and I'm so happy about that. I want them to be better than me. Okay. Right. So here's an example. You asked about my best day. In August, I had a day where I made $100,000 in one day. Okay.
Wow. Wait a minute. Let's run that back. Because see, I love how this game is so big that you can gloss over $100,000 in a day. Because you know that you can make $1 million in a day. You know that some traders are making tens of millions in a day, but you just gloss over $100,000 in a day. No, let's break that down. You said in August you had a $100,000 day.
Yeah.
And I want y'all to get this. This is from here. This isn't from let me go and physically do something with my labor. This is no. Let me understand how money really works and where the big players are playing. Yeah. And you just go out there in one day, write your own stuff $100,000 check.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So big win. How did that feel?
It felt amazing. It felt like, oh my God. Okay. Cause I didn't even know it was possible. Right. Cause I've never met anyone who's done that. Right. I've never met no one. Right. So I didn't know it was possible, but over the years that I was doing it, I had my first $10,000 day, and that was in December of last year. And then December of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then in January of 2020, I had my first $20,000 day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was February or March, I had my first $30,000 day. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and then August, I ended up with my 100,000. Now, even though I had, done that 10, then 20, then 30, and then 40, I just still never thought 100,000. I just never, and then when it was there, I remember I called one of my sisters. I called Dr. Renata, and I was like, sis, it's $100,000. What do I do? She said, push the damn button. You're in the bag. What do you mean what you do? So that's how that felt. And then immediately I started making plans to take that money out of the market, because they wasn't getting that back. They wasn't getting that much that back, right? And so what I did is I took that money. So here's the full thing of how that feels. I took that money along with some other money from some other trades combined, but that solid amount, and I put that, and I bought a duplex for cash, and that is slated to take care of my son's great grandkids.
Love it.
Okay, that part.
Love it. So let's talk about your biggest loss, because this is a situation where you have to make decisions. Yeah. And sometimes the decisions don't always pan out, no matter how hard you research, no matter how much you implement strategy. Sometimes they just don't play out, right? So what was a big loss for you, and how did that feel for you?
So what happened was I lost, and here's the thing. Let me say this real quick. I teach my clients to have what's called a trading plan. Okay. And I teach them that from the very, like week one, right? Week one of class, you need to have a trading plan. And part of that is a decision. Now, mind you, I didn't get that training. I created that, right? Not create the trading plan, but I created the implementation of that mindset of how much do you want to make and how much are you willing to lose?
Gotcha.
So I created that for my clients because I didn't have it for myself, right? I didn't, right? I didn't go through that class or I missed it or whatever, right? So what happened was I developed a lot of bad habits. And I always say, okay, I got to make sure that my clients do better than me. I got to make sure they do better than me. Yeah. So now I teach them, and I'm gonna get to the answer to the question, of course, right? Because it's $70,000. I'm gonna let y'all know what it is right there. Okay. Right. So anyway, so now I tell them inside your trading plan, you write down, I want to make this much, and I'm willing to lose this much, right? Gotcha. So that and I tell people, if ever you say to anybody else or me, dang, I lost 20,000 in the market, dang. You know what I'm gonna tell them is, wow, you wrote that into your trading plan that it was okay to lose 20,000. All right, big baller, right? Because it's a personal responsibility. Because I teach you the skill set, but I also teach you how to be responsible with your money. Because you're right, the market giveth and the market taketh away. Okay, so that thing about securing that bag, you better push that button. You know, so anyway, now for me, because I had so many bad habits, right? Because there were so many things that I didn't really know, right? And I didn't know how to navigate certain things. I developed bad habits, right? And one of them is, I heard somebody say it the other day, one of it is taking hopium. Okay. Hopium is when you're in a trade and you want to make, I don't know, $1,000, but the trade goes in the wrong way and you're losing 700 and you're losing 300 and you're losing 100, but you're hoping that it comes back. I hope it'll come back. So you're suffering just hopium.
I'm hoping it's going to turn around. That's okay. Hey, it's still early. It's 9 o'clock. Maybe it's going to, by 5 o'clock, it's going to be.
Come on now. So yeah, hopium is not a good thing to have, right? So I suffered, and I still do sometimes. I still do. I still suffer from hopium because that's in my bad habits. But my job is to make my clients be better than me, right? So they have no excuse, none. Because I don't give hopium. I give them facts. Y'all better make this plan. That's your homework. I am a teacher. I need your homework, and it needs to be a trading plan that shows me you know how to do a trading plan. And that's how I get down. You know, so they don't ever have that thing of they lost a large amount without acknowledging that they were willing to lose that amount.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I love it. I love it. So let's do this because I'm a novice. I don't do stock. And if you have not answered the question of the day, guys, the question of the day today is, what is the first stock you ever bought and when? Right? What is the first stock you ever bought and when? And at the end of the show, I always give my answer to the question of the day. But if you put QOTD and give your answer, then you get entered to win a free vacation. And I do my live drawing every Wednesday at noon Central. So answer the question of the day. What was the first stock you bought and when? And you'll be entered to win a free vacation. So I know absolutely nothing about stock option trading. And I know a lot of my audience don't either. But here's the thing, as entrepreneurs, the day comes where you have to learn what to do with your money that you're making in your business, especially I'm in digital marketing, digital products. The margins are high. So I don't want to give Uncle Sam nothing. So in order for me to minimize the tax penalty, which I call a penalty, it's not, it's just you make money in this country, you pay a tax, right? Well, in order for me to reduce my tax liability, then I want to be able to put my money into other investments and do other things with it. So someone who is brand new, what the heck is a stock option in the first place?
Okay, good question. So if you Googled it, they would give you this definition that is one sentence long, but does not answer the question.
Okay.
It doesn't. And I told my clients in week 1, I said, and the reason why is because they really don't want us to know what it is. Okay. It's actually something very simple. And the way I break it down to people after 3 minutes, they're like, oh, that's it. That's all it is. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do that for your audience right now. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all
because I need to know, right? I got to know.
All right, cool. I use this analogy. So you know how in the Sunday newspaper there's a whole section on coupons, right? Okay, cool. So you can clip a coupon, take it to the grocery store, hand them your coupon, and you might get 30 cents off of milk or 50 cents off of bread, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Now imagine you could get a coupon for Disneyland. Okay. Mm-hmm. But now this coupon isn't free. You have to pay $5 for this coupon, right? So imagine that this is a coupon for Disneyland and it says you get $30 off of a Disneyland ticket. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's good for 6 months. Okay. Right. So you have to pay $5 for this because this one a free one, right? All right, cool. So we buy my coupon, pay $5 for this, right? I go to Disneyland and Disneyland's closed. But if I had gone that day, it would have been $100 for the ticket. Mm-hmm. Okay, but since we know it's closed, I gotta wait. Okay, no problem. So then let's just say I go in June. Disneyland is open. Everybody's back to playing. Okay, cool. I'm excited. I go to Disneyland, walk up to the counter, hand them my ticket, and they're like, yes, it's still good. But now the price of Disneyland tickets is now $200 instead of $100. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, cool. So I give them my thing that I paid $5 for, and instead of paying $200, I only pay $170. I get to walk into the park. Right. All right, cool. Yeah. Here's what stock options are. You buy your coupon for $5 for Disneyland. Mm-hmm. And then you specifically wait 5-6 months. Why? Mm-hmm. Because you knew ahead of time that Disneyland tickets were going to go from 100 to 200. You already knew that. Mm-hmm. So you wait for that to happen. And then when it happens, you drive to Disneyland and you see somebody else standing in line. You're like, hey, sis, I see you here with the kids, the grandkids, the neighbors' kids. You're going to pay $200 for every single ticket, but I have a coupon that gives you $30 off, and I'll sell you my coupon. Mm. Okay? So you sell it to her for $15. You only paid $5. She don't really care how much you paid. She don't have to know how much you paid, right? That's a win-win situation, right? Because she get $30 off of every single head, and you just made $10, which is a what? 200% return on your money.
That's right.
Stock options are just coupons. That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
So when you have somebody break it down like that, it becomes more real. And I know for a fact that we experience this in our culture, Black people, brown people. I try to educate people on two things when it comes to money: terminology and perspective. What people don't realize is that money has its own language. But it's not just money. Every industry has its own language. When I start talking to people about sales funnels and capture pages and lead magnets and email autoresponders, they like, what the heck are you talking about? Well, if you're in the digital marketing space, you know that language. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The same is true when it comes to money. But what's different about money is then you always have all these other subcategories that also have their own language.
Yes.
And sometimes these words are the same, but they don't mean the same when you cross different subcategories, right? Mm-hmm. So when you hear the word interest over here, it means this. When you hear interest over here, it means this. And you need to understand the language of money. And then what you work on, the psychology, is that the perspective when it comes to money. So that was a great explanation of what a stock option is. So
Right. And I
just basically
right. It is. And my job is to teach people the different ways to buy it and when to buy it and which ones to buy. So that's what I do in my Wolf of Wall Street classes. I teach people 8 different ways to buy and which ones to buy. And then I teach them how to get in and out the market and make money. I had a client yesterday and I was talking to her on the phone as she was doing it because I taught her how to do it over the phone, right? Because she went through the whole course and then I taught her another level of how to do it. She was in and out of the market. I think she probably made maybe $2,000-$3,000 just while we were on the phone, you know. And I loved it because I was sitting there like, that's my girl, get it, you know. And she's only been doing it since May. She took my class in May. She has that skill set because it's a skill.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the better you get at your craft, the better you're gonna be able to pull in this money out this market, right? You know, and I absolutely love it. You know, I got another client. I used to work with her 20-something years ago in probation, and she started in May, and she's up $120-something thousand right now.
Wow.
You know, but you gotta practice. You got to, I mean, the stuff, I mean, it's not like it's going to fall into your lap just because you know the stuff. You got to put in the work. You got to do
you actually got to do the stuff. Because here's where people get trapped and tricked, I think, when it comes to learning new skills, right? It's they read the book on how to ride the bike. I don't care how many times you read the book on how to ride the bike.
Yes.
You will not learn how to ride the bike until you get on the bike.
Exactly. Until you get on the bike. And guess what? There's tuition to the ground.
That's right. Yeah. Listen, this is literally how I taught. I have 5 sons, and I helped raise 3 or 4 of my nephews, right? And I taught all of them how to ride bike. This is literally how I taught. After I taught my second son, well, my third son, because my second son, he was just out there when he saw everybody else riding, he just picked up a bike and started riding. So I didn't have to teach him anything.
Okay.
But my 3rd through 5th and 2 of my nephews, this is how I taught them how to ride their bike. I took them on a small hill, and I knew the momentum was going to carry them down the hill. Okay. The very first thing I did, and yeah, don't call Child Protective Services on me.
As a mom, I'm already sitting here like he said.
The very first thing I did, Dr. Kelly, is I put them on the bike and I literally pushed them down.
Oh Lord Jesus! Oh my God!
Literally.
The babies.
And here was my logic, and it was probably a little abusive, but here's my logic. Listen, this is the worst thing that's going to happen to you. Do you still want to ride the bike after experiencing the worst thing that can happen to you? And yes, sir. Yes, sir. And they got up, they got back on, and it was on and popping from there. In 20 minutes, they were all riding.
Oh Lord!
Because they got over their fear right out of the gate.
Got it.
So do you have something like that to help people once they take the class? They still got to go and do their first trade. They got to buy their first option. Right? How do you coach people through that? Hey, man, I know you put it in me, Dr. Kelly, but I'm scared. I'm still nervous. I don't want to push the button. Right? How do you help get people to push the button?
Well, what I do is actually I've had several clients make money after week 1 of my course. Okay, so they start pushing buttons early. Some of them do. Some of them do. Good. Now, for the ones that are, that are hesitant, that's no problem. So what I do is they stay in class and we still working on them. And I put, like yesterday, in my mastermind group, I said, okay, Mama Bear is telling y'all need to practice this today, and some people went in and made some money off of what I told them. And I don't tell people what to buy because I'm not a financial advisor, but I kind of gave them a push in a certain direction, right? And some folks made money, right? And then there's other people who are just like, they're really hesitant. So then what they do is you get on the phone with them and say, hey, look, hey, okay, I need you to see this, tap here, tap here, tap here. Okay, cool. Now do this, now swipe. And then you kind of just walk them through it. You just slow walk them through it.
Gotcha. Because is there a set amount of money that I have to make with my first options purchase?
Not at all. Not at all. And I actually tell people, you know what? Just try to make 3%, 4%, 5% return. That's more than you ever going to get at a bank if that same amount of money was sitting in the bank. That's okay. Right. So try to get in and get out and make 4 or 5% return, which is very easy to make, by the way. I just want to let you know it's easy to make 4% return on your money in this market. I'm just here to tell you, believe me, I'm telling you. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Gotcha. So there's no set amount. So I can literally start pushing the button with $15, $20, $25 just.
Oh, in terms of the amount of investing.
Correct.
Okay. So now I would say I have had people who put in $80. I remember I did a trade where I put in 80 and made $500, right? But that's a certain level of skill that comes with that. So to answer your question, I show people how to start with 500.
Okay.
But I recommend about 1,800. Why the difference? Because with 1,800, there are certain things that you can buy that's going to be safer and not guaranteed, because I can't say guarantee, but you have a better chance of a much better chance of making money with something that costs 18. And I show them how to do it as opposed to 500. Okay. But I can show you how to do it with 500.
Because the options are better. And just like with anything, when it comes to money and making money with money, the more you're willing to put at risk, that's where you find the better opportunities. And this is why I really try to get people to understand is, yes, living below your means is great, but learning to increase your means from your gifts, talents, and special abilities so you have more money to get to that $1,800 level. Because, man, I got a coach, Brian Bean is a great guy, and he's been coaching me in the network marketing space for the last 5 or 6 years. But he's always talking about the more you elevate financially, the more opportunities you see because you actually can afford them. But you don't even see them when you're struggling, right? When you're barely making it. It's like, hey, I didn't even know this opportunity existed. It's like, no, this opportunity has always been here, but it wasn't until you expanded your means that now you can see them, right? So, Dr. Kelly, we are at the top of the hour already. One of the things that I like to do is, this is a new process for me, but I'm so passionate about media. I am literally going to build a media empire that one day surpasses Disney and Ted Turner.
Right? That's what I'm talking about.
As I'm learning and starting with this podcast, I'm always asked the right questions. So what I do is I give you the opportunity to do what I call freestyle. Because I know you got bars, Dr. Kelly. So now you don't have to put it to music, but the freestyle is just, maybe you want to touch on something that I didn't ask that you want people to know, either about you, about options trading, about your academy, whatever. So just talk to the people and give the Dr. Kelly version of the Cortez Hustle Show freestyle.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I wish I did have bars like that. I don't. Oh my God. But one thing I do want to say about me and pertaining to stock options, with Stock Ops Trading Academy, you're going to get somebody who is a certified teacher, right? I've been teaching for years. I know how to teach in a way that makes it easy to understand. Okay. And I know how to get people started and understanding what they're doing and moving forward. Right. And that is a huge thing, because I remember one of my clients said it's different. It's a different thing to learn from somebody who teaches stock options versus somebody who is a teacher teaching stock options. Okay. And I really try to make sure I go all out with my clients. So, there's times where I have a class that starts at 6 p.m. and that class will go till 6 to 10 p.m. Right. The class was probably over at 8. But because we're just vibing and talking and asking questions and, just whatever, getting to know each other. So I have a community. And that's what I really, really enjoy, is that we just have a good time together. This coming summer, we're going to have our 3rd annual trading retreat. It's going to be in Puerto Rico, right? Last year we had like 12 people. This year we probably going to have something like maybe 20 or 30 people. And I'm excited. We finna have us an amazing time. So I'm excited about that. And then the other thing I also want to say is I have a boot camp coming up. I had one last month on the 21st. It's going to be this month on the 21st too, back by popular demand, because a lot of people didn't get a chance to attend. So it's going to be this the 21st Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, California time. So I want to share that. Anybody who didn't get into the boot camp, please come on through. And there's going to be a huge surprise at the end. And I'm going to say Millionaire Challenge. Anyway, so if you didn't get a chance to get in, you might want to come to the boot camp, because that's the only way you're going to get access to that. Okay.
Love it, love it, love it. That's Dr. Kelly, y'all. Man, can you tell she's on fire for what she does, and that she's loving it? And you said there's one thing of being taught by a teacher who teaches stock options. Yeah. I think you add another level to it, is when you are a teacher and a practitioner teaching stock options. Because there's a lot of people who will do something for a little while, they get some success, they go right into teaching and never practice again, but they're teaching. Right. So I love that you are a day-to-day practitioner and a teacher, breaking it down on the 3rd grade level so everybody can get it.
Everybody can get it. That's right.
Powerful. Listen, guys, it is the end of the show, so I always give my answer to the question of the day. Today's question of the day was, what is the first stock you bought and win. And as a financial health mentor, this might surprise some people, but the first stock I bought was Apple, and it was just in 2018, right? Okay. And I bought it through Cash App, right? And here's why. Because the greatest return in most cases that you're ever going to get in anything that you invest in is investing in your own business, right? So most of my investing goes into investing into my own business. But now I have kind of solidified my processes and got some things in place. So now I'm starting to do some external investing. But I will tell you, 90% of every dime, a dollar I make goes back into my own business. So it's not that I don't believe in the market. It's just I believe more in my business than Steve Jobs' business and Amazon's business and you know, somebody else's business. So that is the question of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by Stock Options Trading Academy. Dr. Kelli, it has been a plum-pleasing pleasure learning from you and listening to you. I can tell, man, that it is a real, true passion of yours to be doing stock options and then to also be teaching it, in particular, teaching it to our community who seems to be the last to get in the game. So tell them, how do they get a hold of you, or how do they get access to the boot camp that's coming up this month?
All right, good. So two ways. So one is you can go to stockoptionstradingacademy.com, stockoptionstradingacademy.com. Okay. And you can go ahead and check out the information, check out the gallery section where there's actually receipt. I call it receipts, where somebody bought something and sold it and they showed how much they made. Okay. I don't talk about how much I made. I talk about how much my clients made. Okay. That's the success. So you can go stockoptionstradingacademy.com and check it out, fill out the form in case you want more information, or if you want to sign up, you can go and click the button, sign up. You can also go to my Facebook group, Stock Options Trading Academy, and join. Okay. And that's where sometimes I just give free tips and just drop some information. There's a whole bunch of information on there. If you go to that Facebook group and type in the word lesson, you're going to get a whole bunch of free stuff that I've dropped, because I'm a teacher. I give stuff away for free. My business coach is not happy with me because he's like, you can't give stuff away for free. You're not a teacher anymore. You're a businesswoman. I'm like, but also I would share, I would love to give a link. That way, see, the people who don't have a free stock, that have never started, they can go ahead and join one of the platforms that we use, and they can go ahead and set up an account with as little as $100, and they will earn their first free share of stock.
Nice.
I'd like to share those links with you, and you can share it with your community if you like.
Absolutely. So all the links will be in the description of the show on Facebook, YouTube, and in the show notes on the channel. But always remember, you can get those links on TheCortezHustleShow.com, which is the official blog page of the show. So all of those links are there. And guess what? When you go to the show page, you will get 2 free gifts just for going to visit the page. So go to TheCortezHustleShow.com to check out all of the show notes and all of the links. And let me just share this testimony real quick. Sean Hill says, I started the class with no clue how I would pay for it. I made money after 2, pulled the tuition out of the market with the skills I learned from Dr. Kelli. I'm going to read that one more time. I know I got to go. So she said, I started the class, stepped out on faith. I believe that I'm going to learn what I need to learn, and I'm going to go get the money for the class out of the market. She pulled the tuition out of the market and paid for the class with the skills she learned from Dr. Kelli. So, ladies and gentlemen,
hey, Sean. Hey, girl.
We have been listening to and learning from Dr. Kelli DeCloux, stockoptionstrading.com. That does it for the Cortez Hustle Show. Until we talk to you next time, get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. So hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.